Afternoon, wherever you are around the world, and a huge welcome to today's Postgrad Insights. This afternoon's session is going to focus on Strathclyde Business School. We have heard from many universities and establishments already this week. However, this will give you a fantastic opportunity to focus on what makes studying in Scotland such a great opportunity, in particular studying a business course within Glasgow. So without waiting any longer, I'd like to hand you over to Alex, who is a representative at Strathclyde Business School. He will be taking you through the next 15 to 20 minutes, followed by Demetrius, and I'll be back for the live Q&A towards the end of the session. Over to you, Alex.
Great, thank you, Gareth, and thank you all for joining us today. So my name is Alex Cahoon. I'm the admissions and recruitment manager here for Strathclyde Business School for postgraduate taught and MBA unit courses. So I'm going to share a presentation with you. If you bear with me one second. So just a bit of a note on how we're going to do today. I'm going to just give you a broad-based overview of our postgraduate offerings here at the Strathclyde Business School. It'll be mostly focused on postgraduate taught courses. It will touch a little on some of our research areas and some of our postgraduate research offerings, but mostly postgraduate taught. So I'll do that for the first 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'll hand you off to Professor Demetrius Andriosopoulos, and he will do more of a deep dive into some of our specific offerings. And then hopefully that will leave us with loads of time to answer your questions at the end. So thanks all for coming, and we'll just get started with the presentation now. So just kind of, for those of you who might not be aware of University of Strathclyde, where it sits within the Scottish higher education sector, and a little bit about its history. The university was founded in 1796. You can see as a place of useful learning. That was kind of the founding ethos of University of Strathclyde, and it remains a real underpinning of what we do here at Strathclyde. All of the education is designed to have a practical application within industry. So that was quite a revolutionary idea at 1796, in 1796 when the university was founded. And it remains a kind of core tenet and a main offering of a Strathclyde education, that you're going to learn something here in education that not necessarily will just be for research or for kind of all the other kind of social things that accompany an education, but is also going to have that real world practical impact in industry. We're in the middle of Glasgow. Glasgow is Scotland's biggest city, just around 650,000 people in the city centre. So it's a good sized city, but it's not an enormous city. It's a very manageable city. And we're kind of right in the center, right off George Square, which is the central bit. We have 4 faculties within the University of Strathclyde. We have engineering, science and humanities, and social sciences, and the Strathclyde Business School. We have a people-oriented approach to education, research, and innovation. You can see there some of our main strategic themes. So some of those strategic themes you see reflected in all of our course offerings and kind of really underpin some of the research work that we've done in the university as well. We're home to over 23,000 students, so we're quite a large university from over 100 countries. So we're a very international population. We're international in our staff, we're international in our student population, we're international in our research population, and we also have a good base here within the UK as well. We're in the midst of a £1 billion campus investment, so that will wrap up in 2025, and that's taking the form of new systems across the university, new labs, new buildings, which I'll touch on a little as well. So Strathclyde Business School specifically, one of the 4 faculties, and here who I'm representing here today. So that was established in 1948. We have over 200 academic staff, 6 academic groupings, and 5 centers of research excellence. So Again, a good research underpinning to all of the teaching that we do here at Strathclyde Business School, and that the academics that you would be learning from are engaging with. We have 5 international centers around the world who do largely MBA education. We do bespoke executive education, so those coming from industry who want to develop specific skills can come in here to the business school and learn them. We have 2,500 undergraduate students and 2,200 postgraduate students, so pretty good chunk of that 23,000 overall student population. We also have a global alumni network of 40,000 alumni. So again, good, strong student population, good, strong alumni population being born out of that. So one of the first things I want to talk about here is external recognition. So that external recognition can take the form of a bunch of different things. It can be how you're accredited, it can be how you're ranked, it can be how you perform in ref, which is kind of a government thing. So all these independent kind of metrics that evaluate the education being offered here. So we're a very highly ranked business school, and we'll go into some of the specific rankings by course a bit later. And we also have some of the key accreditations you're going to be looking for. That's, I think, good advice to follow, broadly speaking, if you're looking at postgraduate study, is to look at the accrediting bodies for different courses. It's particularly important in things like the MBA, but it's really, broadly speaking, I would say, pretty important. So make sure to take a look at those things. Not only is it kind of an external validation of the quality of the education, but it also can make a difference if you're looking at something that's maybe going to be chartered, or if you're looking to do advanced degrees or something, or you're looking for how a degree might be recognized in a foreign country. All these kind of things, these external recognition factors play into. So have a look. That's all very clear on our course pages, and we by and large for our courses have the necessary accreditation and validation. So just a brief overview on what the taught courses are and how they're structured. So we do a Master's of Science and an MBA. So those are our 2 main kind of postgraduate taught degrees. So we have a really broad portfolio of master's programs that I'll go into kind of quickly. I'll filter through them kind of quickly, but you can ask more questions at the Q&A, which will go over all the ones by department. They're generally 1 year long. So if you're doing them full time, they're 1 year. We have September and January starts. So the January intake is slightly smaller than the September intake in terms of the portfolio of courses offered, but we have both those starts. Core and optional classes across 2 or 3 semesters, and then a research project or dissertation over the summer or the corresponding period for the January start programs. So you're usually doing a good level of taught courses and then taking that knowledge and applying it into a research project or a dissertation. Fees for home and UK students range from 12,250 to, you can see there, the £15,000 400, and for international students a higher fee band of you can see there 21,900 to 27,650. There's no application deadline. We're open now for applications for September. January will be opening shortly. One of the things I will say about the fees as well is that we do have a very generous scholarship provision for both home UK students and international students. So the SAS funding for home and UK students, I know there are a lot of home and UK students here on the call. For Scottish students, the SAS funding has gone up for the first time in a while, so that the student loan is £7,000. We're also doing a home scholarship of either £4,000 or £5,000, and we're assessing that based on your admissions application. So if you're thinking about it for September, thinking about doing an MSc course, I would encourage you to go ahead and submit that application because with the scholarship provision, with the uplift in SAS, it's a very affordable time to do an MSc course at the business school. More affordable than it has been, at least at the upfront cost, in a long time. So generous scholarship provisions. Make sure to check out all that information on the course pages. We'll remain open for applications through the summer. So now I'm going to go through all the departments. I won't read out every single course that's being offered. You can see them here on the page, and I will just kind of review some of the key rankings that you can see here. So accounting and finance, you can see ranked number 2 in the UK by the Good University Guide, 7th in the UK, and 1st in Scotland by Complete University Guide, 10th in the UK by the Guardian Best UK Universities. Just a bit more on the accounting and finance programs. You can see down below our various affiliations and accreditations. Core programs are accredited by the Charter Institute of Management Accountants, which it can be, again, a very important accreditation later in your career. Gain valuable practical experience of the factors that drive today's financial markets at Amplified Trading. Ability to nominate up to 6 students per year for the Financial Risk Manager Part 1 exam scholarship through the Global Association of Risk Professionals. Economics, again, some of the key courses that are offered, or all the courses that are offered, and some of the key rankings. You can see it's also home to the Fraser of Allender Institute, which is kind of a leading independent economic research institute. So if you're ever kind of, watching some economics discussion on, say, the morning news or something, you might see that institute pop up. It has a very high profile, that institute. And again, really well-ranked universities, not just within Scotland, but in its overall context of the UK as well. Hunter Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. So they do, again, several different MSCs for people of varying backgrounds. That's one thing to kind of point out about the admissions aspect of a lot of our MSc programs, is that they can be available, depending on the course, to a wide variety of backgrounds. So people who are coming from a marketing perspective could maybe do something in the Hunter Center. People who are coming from maybe doing an English literature degree could maybe do something in the marketing department. There's kind of a broad level of people coming into a lot of the different programs. Again, all the entry criteria will be spelled out on the course pages as well. So the management department, so 2 different managements, is the MBM, or the Masters in Business and Management, and the Masters in International Management. Again, ranked 2nd in Scotland for Business and Management Studies, ranked 9th in the UK for Management, Business Management and Marketing, 5th in Scotland by The Guardian. And again, really strong program, really prepares students for kind of management roles after they graduate. Also, again, AMBA accredited, which is something that's very important to consider as well. Management science, so really interesting portfolio of MSCs that can leverage technology in how we deal with business. So data analytics, business analysis and consulting, health analysis, so dealing with data within management and business. Really interesting core group of MSc programs, and a really, really in demand skill set. Marketing department, one of the older standalone marketing departments within the UK. It just celebrated its 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. Again, not just limited to the MSc in marketing, which is kind of the standard that everyone thinks about, but also has a broad base of other MSCs available. And again, very highly ranked both in Scotland and the UK. And last but not least, our work, employment, and organization. So again, HRM, like human resources management, training human resources professionals, And again, a CIPD approved center, which in the realm of human resources is really, very important. So if you're interested in that, that's a route as well. Strathclyde MBA. So the MBA unit is a little different than all the other departments. So we have a couple different options. We have the full-time MBA here in Glasgow. We have the executive MBA, which is part-time, and it's here in Glasgow. And we have the executive MBA in our international centers spread out all over the world. Presumably, most people on this call would be interested in the executive or the MBA full-time here in Glasgow. So many different study routes to single MBA. You can see there are international centers in Bahrain, Greece, Oman, Malaysia, and UAE. Very prestigious MBA program, executive MBA, ranked in the top 10 of UK providers by Financial Times EMBA ranking in 2022, and also in Corporate Knights Better World MBA ranking also in 2022. So here are just some very brief testimonials from students who have come here and done MSc programs and what they were able to get out of it. Different cultures, something that they could apply in their work life. So again, scholarships and funding. Home RUK funding scholarships, £4,000 to £5,000 based on your admissions applications. International scholarships you would need to apply for. Also, MBA scholarships are a slightly higher amount for really exceptional students. Also, they have the MBA has a slightly higher fee. So how to apply? Apply online via the course pages. You can find our website very easily. Check the entry requirements. Make sure you upload all your supporting documents. We can't review your application if you don't give us the documents. And again, no formal closing date, but the sooner you get the application in, the better, and the sooner it can be assessed for scholarships and things like that. Very briefly on our research opportunities, we do a PhD and an MPhil. Fees for that are quite different. Application process is a little different, but again, there's a great PGR admissions and recruitment team within the faculty office who have a really robust website that will tell you what you need. And here are some of our key research areas within the research degrees. And you can see they line up pretty much exactly with our departments, kind of drawing on the strengths of those departments. Very brief testimonial about the PhD opportunity here from Pavel. So that is my presentation. I think I ran 40 seconds over, so apologies for that, Demetrius. But at this point, I will hand off to my colleague, Demetrius Andriopoulos, to do a bit more of a deep dive into his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for the presentation. And I should also say that coincidentally, the student that you saw, Pavel, on the PhD in the testimonial, actually coincidentally happens to be my student who has successfully completed his PhD defense a couple of months ago. So if you can allow me 1 second to share my screen, and I will go over in a bit more detail of what the Department of Accounting and Finance offers in terms of MSc programs. Also, as Alex correctly suggested, I am Professor Demetrios Andriopoulos, professor here at the Department of Accounting and Finance. Now, I know Alex has covered some of the indicators of excellence for the business school and also some of them with regards to the department. I would just like to have a brief overview of some of the indicators of excellence, particularly to the Accounting and Finance department, because we have been excellent in across many fields, both teaching and research. And this is also reflected by the fact that we have been in more than 10 years consecutively ranked at the top of the Times Good University Guide and the Complete University Guide. Also, our MSc Finance and Investment Finance programs have been recognized or part of the CFA Institute's University Recognition Program For those of you that have not heard or not aware of the CFA Institute, this is arguably the most recognizable program and institute in industry, in the financial service industry. So effectively, the CFA charter holders are one of the most recognized charter holders in the finance profession. Also, we have recently started an affiliation with the CQF Institute. This is a chartered quantitative finance institute. So it is effectively mirroring what the CFA is doing, but with a particular focus on quantitative finance. Essentially, this is a much more math, statistics driven type of program and affiliation. We also have an affiliation association with the Global Association of Risk Professionals. So essentially what this means, both the CFA, CQF, and the GARP, these three institutes and our affiliations effectively recognize the rigor of our teaching, and that we also cover a substantial part of the curriculum that they want to have for their own charter holders when they take the exams and what they're being assessed at. We also have an affiliation recognition with the CIMA, ACCA, and ICAS. Effectively, these are international bodies and institutes, effectively, of chartering accountants. Also, apart from the excellence or on the recognition that you have, what should you be expecting? What should you expect if you are to join our MSc programs? In our programs, of course, we have different programs. So I'll talk about this in a few minutes. But effectively, what we have is a blend between theory and practice. Okay? It's not purely theory. It's not just reading from textbooks. It is also putting this theory to practice and how they connect with current, even daily developments. And sometimes, as it happens, even in my class, and I know with my colleagues as well, that very often you do have happenings or events that happen on the day or even during the time of the class, that things change or news come out or break out or things happen in the markets, that we actually discuss them on the spot. So really putting theory into practice even as it develops sometimes. Also, it is a very sociable international environment. We have different nationalities. We have students from around the world, spanning the globe, literally. And also, we do have, apart from their own societies and the events that students lead, we also have frequent social events as well within the department, so that students have more opportunities to mix and mingle and network between them. Also, to say that we have part of the social environment, we also tend to have in our classes other events, part of the classes, part of the teaching. We have industry practitioners, sometimes can also be our former alumni, coming to give a guest lecture, and then we have follow-up reception type of events. And overall, again, we have, as a part of our teaching, is developed in a sense to accommodate and really to be complemented by having guest lecturers from the industry. And again, this enriches the experience and also the knowledge and the networking as well for a student. We also have a collaboration with Amplify, and we offer the Amplify Bootcamp. Now, Amplify, they are effectively trainers that have been developed since the initiative was taken from the industry, and we have industry practitioners realizing that there's a bit of a slight gap between what the industry employers want from the graduates and what essentially universities offer. So effectively, they are filling that gap, and they really give essentially also a good snapshot, a good experience of what a graduate should expect if they are to join the financial services industry. So we teamed up with Amplify, and we offer a small introductory session with them, and then we also have the bootcamp, which is effectively almost a week-long event, where again, you go over different positions and different types of jobs that you could have on the financial service industry. Also, as I mentioned earlier, that our courses are recognized by the CFA Institute. Again, this is the leading professional body for financial specialists. And also with the CQF, apart from having a free membership as by being our student, you can have a free membership on the CQF Institute. And they also provide a lot of even free access to talks, events, again, established practitioners or thought leaders. And also they provide career events and also additional information with regards to careers on the quantitative finance space. Finally, I should also say that there's another opportunity by joining our program. You also have the ability to attain the Bloomberg Market Concept Certificate. This is a self-paced certificate. You don't need to undertake it if you're not interested or you don't want to. The opportunity is there. So all of our students that are joining our MSc Finance related programs, they have access to the Bloomberg terminals, and on their own pace, they can create their own account. And after completing the training and the hours required to spend on a Bloomberg terminal, then you can have this certificate, which is an additional as a bonus, as an add-on later on for the job market. Also, with regards to the experience, to give you a sense of the breakup of our nationalities, of our student cohorts, this is, just to repeat, this is on the MSc Finance related programs that we have. And of course, the numbers vary over time, but we have about, across all 5 programs, about 180 students. And we have about 28 to 33, 34, 35, sometimes different nationalities. And we have about 40 to 45% spread between female and male students. So again, this is to showcase the diverse student cohort in our MSc programs. And also we have a large number of different alumni groups around the world, spread around the world in different regions and different countries, which again can enhance further networking opportunities and further career opportunities. Now, what are our programs? A bit more in detail. You could call the core program is our MSc in Finance. This is the core program based on many of our other finance-related programs have been built on over the years. So we have the MSc Finance and MSc Investment in Finance. We have International Accounting and Finance. It's much more accounting-driven. And then we have International Banking and Finance and our newly launched program with starting for the first time in this September 2023 on sustainable finance. And I'll talk a little bit more about this program in a few minutes. But we also share some programs with other departments, and this is how we offer the MSc Financial Technology in collaboration with the Management Science department. We also have Finance and Management, Economics and Finance, Quantitative Finance, and Actuarial Finance. I should also say that these top 3, the first 3, the Finance, Investment Finance, and Accounting and Finance, offer both September and January intake, whereas International Banking, Sustainable, and everything else you see here, it is only on the September intake. And once again, Sustainable Finance is the one that is launching and starting in September for the first time. Now, to give you a bit of a sense, what is the difference between finance, investment finance, or international accounting and finance and banking? Now, all of these programs, they share the same classes in term 1. So the first term, all students have principles of finance, accounting, financial analysis, quantitative methods, and financial markets and banking. Now, this is because we assume that there is very little or even zero prior knowledge with regards to finance. So since these are almost, I wouldn't say introductory, but they start from assuming a zero base of knowledge on finance and accounting. So we'll build on that really quickly. And after the first term, then the different programs split across the different cohorts, for which they have specific core classes for every specific program. And then there are some joint optional classes that you could be taking. And after the term 2, for the summer term, term 3, you have 2 empirical research projects where effectively you can view them as 2 mini dissertations. In one project, you are essentially given the data, you are to perform specific data analysis, whereas in project 2, essentially you need to conduct a mini literature review and a mini dissertation, a mini data analysis on that too. Now, the difference with the sustainable finance is that it's not just a finance course, which we simply, let's call it branded as sustainable finance, we just throw the term on it. We have designed it from scratch, and it builds on the 3 core classes of the other finance programs, the principles of finance, quantitative methods, and banking. But we also have a new class called sustainable finance. This gives you the introductory approach on sustainable finance and ESG investing. This also builds a lot and borrows heavily from the CFA Institute's relatively new program on ESG investments. So we built a little bit on their curriculum, but also from many other different sources, because there are a lot of other nuances around sustainable finance and ESG investing. And then we'll have 3 new classes in term 2. So after you have built a solid foundation of knowledge, then we'll move on to a much more advanced, both in finance and also sustainable finance. So we'll have a new class on sustainable finance and technology. For instance, how can you apply AI or big data analysis to inform sustainable finance investment and decisions. Then we also have the new branch of sustainability accounting. Again, how do you account for sustainability? How do you report? What do you disclose? What are the pros and cons? And then we also have applications of sustainable finance. Now, what this does is essentially a blend between theory and practice. What do we know on the latest of research? How can we disentangle different concepts? Because also sustainable finance means different things to many different people. So we need to really clarify and really establish what the evidence tells us. And also is going to be complemented by a number of guest lectures from investment practitioners. For instance, one of our visiting professors is the heads of sustainable finance in NatWest, one of the leading banks here in the UK. And again, we can complement what is going in the industry by having these guest lectures for our students. And then, of course, they need to take a few more credits by a selection of optional modules that are being offered. Empirical research projects 1 and 2, they are, let's say, the approach is similar to what we have on the finance projects. However, they are heavily geared towards a sustainability type of finance aspect. So, for instance, it will be a sustainable / ESG type of topic, or even climate finance topic for the data analysis and also for the literature review. So again, they are heavily geared towards sustainable finance. Also, why sustainable finance and what are the potential prospects? There has been a huge rise. I mean, if you haven't heard anything about sustainable finance before, I guarantee you're going to be hearing very, very soon and very often. And here what I have, just to show you as an example, there's a huge rise over the years with regards to the number of signatories on the PRI. PRI is the Principles of Responsible Investment Association. And effectively, we have more than 3,500 institutional investors, organizations that sign towards these principles, and they manage more than 3.8 or roughly 3.8 trillion US dollars around the world, okay, as assets under management. So again, these are heavyweights, big institutions, and it can sway a lot financial markets and, in effect, business decision making and decision makers. Also, in terms of careers, again, it's not also what I'm saying, but there is a huge demand for sustainable finance and ESG talent. For instance, a year ago, Goldman Sachs said it will deploy about $750 billion to help their clients accelerate the sustainability and climate transition. You have both international and national markets and press again saying that there is a lack of talent. You also have consultancy firms again saying that the future for banking and financial services is on the ESG. And again, there's a big push, and it will become, if it does sound a bit niche, it is actually mainstream and will become even more mainstream within finance. Now, with regards to our recent graduates and placements of our recent graduates from the core finance programs, because again, sustainable finance is only starting now for the first time. It will be launched for the first time in September. But our previous graduates on the finance-related programs have been, a lot of household names with regards to the financial services industry, like Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, etc. And we also have big presence for a lot of these household names in the financial services industry, having presence in big campuses here in Glasgow, and a lot of our students actually remain in Glasgow and continue their work here. Like Morgan Stanley, for instance, Barclays opened a new campus a couple of years ago as well. So we have a lot of, and also let's not forget that we do have another big financial center is not just Glasgow, but it's also Edinburgh, which is essentially right next door, and also employ our recent graduates and former graduates. And that is all I had to cover with regards to our MSc programs, and I'll be more than happy to take any questions you may have.
We've had a few questions come in, and Alex, I want to start with you because it is more generic rather than specifically focused around the business school. You mentioned earlier on about coming to study in Scotland. Glasgow is not the busiest city in the world, but talk to me about what it's like to live there, because you mentioned about the international students and how you've got a high contingency amount of a high amount of international students. How does that add to what it's like to live in the city, and therefore how much does it feel like a home from home for so many students?
Yeah. So of course, that's a good question. As you might have noticed by my presentation and Demetrius's presentation, it's a pretty international place. So I'm from the US originally, and it's like, again, that international aspect is reflected very much in the student body. Also the wider city, which I think makes it a pretty welcoming place. Overall, amongst the big universities in Glasgow, I think we're looking at a student population of 60,000 plus. So, about a tenth of the overall city, which makes it a very student-focused city. I think it's a great place to study. I came here to do a postgraduate degree from America, and was, a great experience. And by the time I was done, I knew that Glasgow was going to be my forever home. And I think Glasgow does a really good job. I've been to all kinds of places across the world doing this job, in kind of building that atmosphere when you get here, that it's a very welcoming place. It's a great place to study. It's an international place, so you do get this good diversity of cultures. And although it's pretty small, it does have most of the amenities. I mean, 600 and some odd thousand people is small in the global context of cities, but still pretty good size. I mean, you will get your main shops, you'll get good transport links, you'll get frequent flights to Europe and London and international airport and all that. So I hope that answers somewhat.
Yeah, I suppose it's always important to remember as well, you've got an international airport within 10 minutes away, 10, 15 minutes drive. You can get on the tram or a bus there within 30 minutes, really, I think it is, from Glasgow International Airport. So, you're very well connected. Some of the questions that have come in relate around where your campuses are, and if you offer any online campuses, and if you've got any agents abroad which they can connect with and ultimately help them apply and get on and enroll.
Yeah, so our main campus, our main in-person campus is right in the center of Glasgow. So if you type into Google Maps Glasgow and it drops that pinpoint right in the middle, it probably does it on George Square. You go a block and a half over to the right of that, and that's our campus. So it's pretty centralized there. It runs right up against the Glasgow City Innovation District, which is a confluence of academia, research, an industry that's been set up in its own district in Glasgow. So a pretty appropriate place for a major university. In terms of online provision, yep, we do have online courses. You'll have to, and we have part-time courses and flexible courses. What's available will just be depending on department and depending on which program you're looking at. So if you go onto the course pages, you can see the various ways in which it's offered. In terms of overseas agents, we work with many overseas agents. There's a dedicated web page that our recruitment and international office runs that will list by country all the registered agents that we work with. And if you're coming from abroad, I would highly recommend you engage in their services. It shouldn't cost you anything as a student, that it's covered by us here at the university. And where they're particularly helpful, they're really helpful through the application process, but also the visa process. They can be a really good resource. So yes, we have agents. Yes, we have some flexible and distance learning programs, part-time programs, all on the website. And we are kind of really centrally located in Glasgow.
And I suppose it flows quite nicely onto this question as well about the English language requirement. You know, someone's actually asked about the IELTS, and presumably you take IELTS, TOEFL, and perhaps Duolingo, I don't know. But what are the scores required, and where can they find out more information about that?
So yeah, there's, again, harp on about the website. It's all listed on a really good webpage that our recruitment and international office runs. We do take IELTS as kind of the default standard one at 6.5 with no subscore below 5.5. We do take the TOEFL IBT. We don't currently take Duolingo. We did over COVID. We don't now. We might again in the future. But we also take Pearson. We take the Oxford International English Test. They're all listed online with the corresponding scores. Also, if you're unsure about our English language, if you've done a degree in the UK, or you've done A-levels, or you've done an IB, or there are all kinds of things that we can look at in terms of English to use to assess your ability. So if you have any questions at all, it's always worth emailing in as well, because there might be some flexibility there.
Excellent. Demetrius, I'll bring you in at this point. Thanks for waiting patiently there. A couple of questions have come in around can you talk about the MSc Economics and Policy of Energy and Climate Change? And then there's been another question around about elaborating further on research projects. Can you go into a little bit more about those? I appreciate you don't probably want to go into each individual subject area, but broadly speaking.
Thank you, Gareth. Yes. Let me start from the second point, which is with regards to the dissertations and the research projects. Now, for those of you that have done a dissertation, probably you should be quite aware that, you know, you choose a topic and essentially, typically with the agreement of an academic supervisor, and then you start investigating the literature, trying to understand what it is all about. Then also, if it is mostly on the finance aspect, or economics tends to be also more empirical work, therefore you need to collect the data, do the analysis, and then have the whole package that would be your dissertation. That's a dissertation in a nutshell. With the empirical projects, effectively, we sort of try to make it a bit more nimble, more agile, and essentially split the skills that you pick up from that process in two. So effectively, we would say, right, here's a specific research question. You don't need to come up with a research question yourself. Here's a specific research question, specific topic, and also here's the data. So you don't need to try to find about databases, which again, they vary over time and is not necessarily a skill that an employer would require most of the time. So here's the data, here's the research question. You just need to perform the analysis based on the knowledge that you picked up on terms 1 and 2, on quantitative methods and the finance related classes, and apply that analysis to address that research question. So that would be project 1. Project 2 is then come up with a question, something that interests you a lot. And once we agree that this is a solid type of topic, then you go on and read the literature and you provide then a literature review. You essentially try to build your knowledge on that specific area that really interests you. So essentially it's providing a much more, let's call it essay type of approach, where you really dig deeper and delve really deep into that topic that really interests you. But of course, it has to be commonly agreed. So again, this can be a bit of a difference from a typical dissertation. Again, dissertation, you do all these skills, you have all the skills for one project, and you have to do a lot of things by yourself. For instance, getting the data, understanding the data, etc. Whereas, as I said, in a nutshell, for project one, we give you the data and the question, you just need to perform the analysis. And number two, you need to perform the literature review.
So
now,
makes sense.
Hopefully that addresses or answers that question. With regards to economics and policy of energy or climate change, this is not something that is not offered by this department. This is much more on the economics. From the very little I know, it's much more economics driven and much more climate, for instance, climate economics and carbon economics that is driven. It's not something, for instance, that we offer as a department, and it's not really related to, it is partially related to sustainability, but again, the reason we launched sustainable finance is because sustainability is much more beyond, and it's much more beyond just climate. It's not just climate, it's also about social aspects, climate aspects, also corporate or business decision aspects, all of it, not just that one isolated, which of course is important, but we also account for climate. So it's about much wider umbrella of issues and topics. So for more information, in a nutshell, I would suggest to contact the economics department directly to get more information on that, if you're interested in more climate change and policy of energy MSc offered by the economics department.
Thank you, Dimitris, and that makes total sense. Go on.
One thing, Gareth, I should say also as well, because I think I saw a question with regards to, how different is Glasgow, and of course, you both did an excellent discussion and coverage of why Glasgow, but I should also say that perhaps something is overlooked, that Glasgow has also been the fourth best city, I believe, in the world based on the Time Out Index. So again, it is reflecting the youth, the convenience, and also the vibrancy of the city. And again, I'm not a Glaswegian, but I have fallen in love with the city, and that's where I've been for the last 10 years of my life now.
Excellent. Dimitri, it's actually a good one to follow up on, actually, because, and Alex, if you want to come in at this point, someone has said they're concerned about the cost of living and how it's so high, and inevitably there will be students watching, whether they're international or UK, that are worried about that. What would you say to those students that are looking to come to Glasgow and to Scotland? What opportunities are there to get help and to live as affordable as life as possible?
Yeah, I guess I can start, and Dimitris, if you want to jump in. Yeah, obviously the cost of living, not just in the UK, but across the world, it's a big problem just now. I would say in the context of the UK, Glasgow, especially for a city, is much more affordable than many other places. So if you are coming from within the UK, if you're coming from London or the greater London area in particular, Glasgow is probably going to seem like a pretty good deal when you get here. So yeah, I mean, there are definitely things you can do to help curb that a little. You can apply for the maintenance loan if you're a home or UK student, which should help a bit with the cost of living. If you're an international student, I would really stress applying for our scholarships. They're very generous. And also we have this scholarship provision for our home students, which is kind of a new initiative for us. And it is kind of born out of this idea that there is a bit of a cost of living crisis going on, and is designed to help students there. So there is support available, there's help available. And again, in the context of the UK, Glasgow is a pretty affordable place.
So Alex, when you say home students, are you talking Scotland or are you talking the UK as a whole?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I should, I guess, distinguish that. Home refers to Scotland, but home UK is usually how I would put that, because for
Yeah.
our purposes, the fee is the same. And when it comes to scholarship, it's the same. And when you apply for your student loan or your maintenance loan, even though it's administered, it might be administered by Student Finance England, Student Finance Wales, the SAS in Scotland, equivalent in Northern Ireland. It all comes through Student Loans Company. It's all administered the same way. You apply for them through your home country or your home organizations. If you have any questions about that or your eligibility for those, all of those services have really good websites that you can visit. And again, we have a good website on our page as well. But yeah, sorry, to the home UK thing, the same fee I'm talking about.
I kind of had a hunch that was the case, but I thought the viewers listening in might just be interested. So, Dimitris, if I can give you the last say, then open question from the last point, really, about what makes it such an affordable place to live, and in addition to that, the financial aid, how they go about applying, and if they are concerned, what can they do to really make sure that it's still a great time to study?
Well, first of all, okay, in terms of the timing, obviously, it's very difficult to answer everything.
Yeah.
So I should say that answer can only be answered by each individual. We all have different circumstances, right? Now, typically, I would say that when you have a little bit, let's say, of economic downturn, usually it is a good time to retool by going to further education, by honing up your skills, becoming more marketable again for the economy and different employers. Yes, we do have a bit of a going over a bit of a speed bump at the moment. Yes, the cost of living and inflation has gone up significantly, although Glasgow, again, as Alex said, is a much more affordable city as opposed to many other cities around the UK. Also, again, as Alex was saying, we do have a lot of scholarship opportunities, and speaking of which, something that I admitted earlier on, the affiliation we have with the CFA Institute also offers us the ability to provide, I believe it's 2 or 3 scholarships to our best students to undertake the CFA level examination, which again, it is quite costly. So there is also that opportunity based on academic performance. The top performing students are eligible to can take this scholarship towards the CFA examination. So if I can summarize effectively, Glasgow it is a lovely city. We do offer a very strong and very reputable program or programs, I should say, and it can be, on average, I should say, a very good, depending on circumstance, that is, a very good time as well to retool and skill up in order to rejoin in a stronger basis the job market.
Excellent. Dimitris, Alex, we're going to have to wrap things up there as we approach the hour mark, but a huge thank you to you both, and a reminder for anybody that is watching and has signed up and registered for this week's festival, all things education, postgraduate level, that we will be reaching out to you over the coming days, over the next week, and we will be sharing your details of all universities involved. So if there's any concerns, any questions, if you've missed anything and you want to watch on demand, this will be hosted on Postgrad and we will also send it to you. But for now, Dimitris, Alex, a huge thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in the not too soon future. Thank you very much.